All right, the Jets have a new quarterback, I guess. Plus, Jets Chiefs coming up on Sunday Night Football, baby. We fire up with a special guest coming up next right here on the show. Boy Green Daily. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans. Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show. Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Siemian, baby. For me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. What is poppin', everybody? Good morning. My name is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. This is Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every single day at 7:30. Yes, that is indeed true. And welcome to the program. We've got a lot to discuss, but before we get to any of that jazz, let's welcome in our special guest as we start to go behind enemy lines ahead of Sunday Night Football. It's a guy known for a long time, but first time ever seeing that beautiful mug of his. So let's bring him in, Matt Connor of Arrowhead Addict, covering all things Chiefs Kingdom. What's up, Matt? Good morning.
Paul, good to see you, man. I was actually going to comment on the same thing. First video time, I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of approve of this glasses beard. I'm missing the cap, but
Yeah.
there's something stirring in both of us right now. I think that I don't know. There's like a deep kinship that we didn't know about.
That is true, and I'm glad that we're able to connect it. But I'm glad you didn't wear a cap, because if I had beautiful locks like that, I wouldn't be hiding it in a cap either. So God bless America, and God bless that those goldy locks you have there. Those are beautiful. So yeah, man, this is cool. I love doing the show. I love the visual product. We started it, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. There was kind of a clamoring for it. I don't know why, because I tried to hide in radio all my life, but they begged this monster out of the cave, and well, now it's too late. You can't put the GD back in the bottle. I'm out here every gosh darn day, so there's nothing they can do about it, although they can continue to enjoy my faceless face on the radio every day, 10 to 12, if they prefer, here locally in New York. But that's neither here nor there. I guess we'll start here, because then we'll get into the Chiefs conversation after. Well, the Jets have a new quarterback, and one
Yes.
I'm sure you're intimately familiar with out there from AFC Westland. That is Trevor Siemian, the former Northwestern Pride. He has joined the Jets. He's starting off on the practice squad, and then eventually, I imagine very quickly, he will move to the active roster. We'll see what the decision is between Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian, potentially for this Jets-Chiefs game, to see who will be QB2. But QB1 is no question. That is going to be Zach Wilson. Robert Saleh made that painfully clear throughout this week. So I'll throw this up on the board here. This is our poll today. It's linked everywhere that you're watching, so feel free to vote. There's another 12 hours and change on this. And the Jets finally added a veteran quarterback, but how do you feel about Trevor Siemian? Amazing, great get. Well, at least he's a body. Meh, not better than Zach, or rock solid, competent vet. Most of the votes are 53%. Well, he's a body, and that is accurate. I think I can confirm that is indeed true. Followed closely by meh, not better than Zach. Not ideal. Matt, Trevor Siemian, give us the scouting report for a guy that we kind of know because he was here a couple of years ago, but nonetheless.
I mean, he's got to be better than Zach Wilson at this point, right? Look, if your car is stuck on blocks in the driveway, you're at least jumping in anything else with wheels going, do you move? And so I would think at this point, I would be happy with another body to, like Trevor Siemian is not going to move the meter for anyone. If in fact, I was shaking my head when you were describing the current situation. You said choosing between Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian, looking at the active roster, I just thought, before Andy Reid arrived, it had been just a carnival of Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle, Matt Castle, etc. And so I remember like years of talking myself into, oh, maybe Tyler Thigpen will be a thing here, oh my gosh, we just got Kyle Orton off waivers. How's this going to turn out? Right. And then, you traded for Alex Smith, and the rest is history there with Andy Reid's arrival. So yeah, man, one, I feel for you in this scenario that Trevor Siemian has to be one of the guys. But, what's the over-under on Trevor Siemian being the starting quarterback? Like, how many games until he's actually the starter? Well, like, what would you say?
My gut check would be, which is funny enough, revenge game. I'm sure everyone will be clamoring over that particular angle in week 5. But Sean Payton, week 5, Denver Broncos. That's it. But it all depends on this because people are having different prognostications for this Chiefs game, right? So Zach Wilson is going to be the starter for this Chiefs game, Sunday Night Football, coming up. If he looks terrible, I think, well, all right, might be time to move the needle. But if he shows some pop, which is possible because he sometimes shows these flashes of whoa, and then that's almost enough for the coach to have to be like, hey, did you see that one whoa moment somewhere there in the middle of the first quarter? So, arrow pointing in the right direction, and fans like, well, we lost 45-4. I'm not quite sure that or like last game. So, right, they lose to the New England Patriots for the 15th time in a row. Yeah, don't the Chiefs know about something about beating someone 15 times in a row? That's neither here nor there. But the point is when you lose like that, and he says, well, Zach Wilson didn't have a turnover. Well, they kind of had the training wheels on him the whole time. He didn't ever put the ball in a place that it could have been turned over. But I guess you can say that as a fact, just like that Trevor Siemian is an actual body. So the point is that I would say that over-under game is week 5 against the Broncos. But if Zach Wilson shows literally any sign of life in this Chiefs game, I think they're going to continue to ride this until, like, literally the wheels are off. We just talked about that car with the cinder blocks. Like, until we're there, for whatever reason, the Jets are living and dying by that Zach Wilson number 2 overall pick.
Do you disagree with that tack, by the way, or is that not the responsible thing to do when you have such a high investment? I mean, do you squeeze it all the way just to know? So he's not like some reclamation project later on that could turn into something? Or, I mean, like, what do you do there?
Yeah, because it was a big point of conversation during the offseason for the New York Jets when they got Aaron Rodgers that, hey, is Zach Wilson going to be the QB2 or are you going to go get a guy? Yeah. And it's kind of weird that the Jets stumbled into this because 2 of the names they're kicking the tires on were Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr. And they're hovering around the same age. I don't know their exact birthdays, but they were 30 to 31, 30, or just turned 31, somewhere in that range. If either of those 2 guys were signed, Zach Wilson would have been traded because Zach Wilson is not dumb. He could see that clearly either of those guys could have been here in theory for 5, 6, 7 years. So he has no path. However, when Rodgers was brought in and he's 39, he turns 40 in December, like I can see the light at the end of his tunnel. I can be here and be the woohoo backup. And then if anything happens to Rodgers, they're going to go to me. So the weird thing was is Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers already had a pre-existing relationship. They had an agent thing back when he was in the draft. So they've known each other. So the friendship of his job being stolen away like worked out because Aaron Rodgers is his idol. So in a very weird way, it worked out that he was QB2 and the Jets still believed in him. And Aaron Rodgers is the only quarterback they could have paired with him where it all would have worked out. Now, the rest of, I would say 99% of Jets fans and media wanted the Jets to sign a Jacoby Brissett, somewhere in that range. To me, I was like, you know what? If Rodgers is here and he's appeared in 81 of 82 games since 2018, and the only game he missed was COVID, I'm like, well, if he's never hurt, Jets, of course, that's where that switch would obviously flip, obviously. But I said, you know what? Since he's like an Iron Man and Zach Wilson QB2, and they just want to, again, be that reclamation project, I was cool with it. And I know I was in the minority of being cool with that decision. And now it looks bad, obviously, because Rodgers gets hurt. Tim Boyle is not an actual option. The Robert Saleh refused to even consider the possibility of ever giving him QB1 reps ever again in practice. He never gave it to him. But to ever give it to him in the future, he almost looked at that question with disgust by the media. Like, absolutely not. And then that would make some people probably go, then why is he on the team? But that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, I would say yeah, they're riding it off till the wheels come off. But all the wheels are off as far as the fans are concerned. They're done. They're ready to rip it off. And Aaron Rodgers appeared on the Pat McAfee show, tried to rev the engine. Like, come on, you got to believe in your guy. You got to give him the love. And he kind of hinted that he may make a surprise appearance on Sunday Night Football, which I'm sure will rev up the fans that are there. But yeah, so I mean, if you're going to ride it, like, here's the thing. We're on September 27th. We just picked up Trevor Siemian, and it's creating whatever that's creating on social media. Like, what are the other options? Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Yeah. Like, the names suck. And then no one's going to trade anybody. That's just a fact. No one's going to trade a starter in week 4. They're not going to trade their backup, especially with all the injuries we've been seeing. James Winston pop in. Who was it, Gardner Minshew, or a couple of these others. So the only situation you have is calling the QB3 teams. That's the Dallas Cowboys. You have Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, and probably they wouldn't even do it. So yeah, they're in a real pickle. They're in a real pickle right now.
Man, well, I feel bad for you all. Simeon is certainly nothing more than a real, a statue back there, limited arm. Yeah. You can't even threaten downfield. You cannot even threaten downfield with Trevor Siemian remotely. There's no chance. And so, if he's going to show up in any way, it's not like your offense is that much more enhanced. At the very least, though, he has some vision. At the very least, he has some experience that brings some instincts there that maybe people point to. He doesn't make bad decisions. I think he has like 42 touchdowns and 20 something interceptions in his career. So yeah, that's better. But yeah, it's not good. It's just not good.
No, it's not. So like I said, we will see. Robert Saleh will speak for the first time later this morning since Trevor Siemian was signed. And he didn't seem to say. It'll just be interesting. We got to hear what he's going to say to find out that QB2 question. I imagine we'll find that out pretty quickly. But with Siemian basically signing yesterday to Sunday, I don't know if they'll. Well, he's been here before, but different offensive schemes. We'll just see. I'm not sure. As I'm prognosticating, I would assume Tim Boyle's QB2 on Sunday, but he's not. What is he holding it with? Fingertips. So like it could be stolen away like a candy from a baby at any point. So TBD on that. But we will hear from Saleh a little later today and get some more clarity on that situation. Let's go to the Chiefs and let's get ready for this game. The Jets have not been on Sunday Night Football in over a decade. So this game was circled on the calendar. They're going to wear the legacy uniforms. That's not like fans are like, yes, finally, it's been 11 years. And then now with how everything's turned out, oh boy. Defending Super Bowl champs, week 4 at home. This could be tough. Let me start with this. I'm sure we'll get injury reports later throughout the week, but I saw Mahomes got a little nicked up or something in the game. Is that just a thing? Just like Patrick Mahomes had that in the NFL script before the year. Hey, I'm going to kind of mess up a little and look even more impressive with a slight hiccup injury and just do more crazy. Was that in the script? I might have missed that page.
Yeah,
during the group reading. Yeah,
you might think so. He always seems to come up like hobbling a couple games a year, and then does some magical pirouette move, and then suddenly we're all fawning over whatever he's doing there. Yannick Ngakoue fell down, rolled his ankle. Mahomes came up after the game. Mahomes said that he was actually more scared of having injured that ankle because it was the same ankle.
Oh, I see.
So he was like really favoring it, kind of worried, like, oh no, you got to be almost like one of those, like, you got to be kidding me things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more he got to walking on it, he realized, oh, it wasn't so bad. And then after, they go into halftime, come out, and he's right back out there with the starters. So, and that was a game that you could easily not have come out with the starters because you're already up 31-0. So, he's totally fine. The Chiefs are looking much healthier. Kelsey's back now. This will be his 3rd game back from the bone bruise, whatever salves and ointments Taylor Swift's applying. I'm sure they're working well. L'Jarius Sneed, a lot of people who are banged up are looking good. The only real injury question will be Nick Bolton, who's a linebacker, but the Chiefs are actually deeper there than they've been in years. So, yeah, you're kind of meeting the Chiefs at full strength right now.
By the way, so you brought it up. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers hinted on the Pat McAfee show that he will be making his return. Obviously, he tore his Achilles, unfortunately, on Monday, September 11th. It is currently Wednesday, September 27th, and he had not been up to this point. We'll see. Obviously, he may have a surprise in store. He has not been cleared to medically travel yet. So if he does, that'll be a surprise. Taylor Swift, she's taking the relationship on the road. What's happening? She coming to MetLife? She was here a couple months ago for some concert action. That's what the people want to know, man. That's what the people want to know.
I have zero insight into Taylor Swift. Honestly, nor do I care to become a expert on Taylor Swift things. Although, contrary to probably what I want, I will probably have to change it from some blank space of knowledge to at least some level of becoming a lover or fearless about what Taylor Swift brings.
Yeah, I am zero on the Swiftie train. Apparently, it's a sexy thing to be a Swiftie, apparently, but I have zero knowledge. I mean, if I heard a song, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Taylor Swift, so I'm very low on the poll as well, but it's taken the NFL world by storm, that power couple with Kelsey, which is interesting nonetheless. So, sorry, fans. We don't have that insight at this point, but perhaps somewhere in the future.
I'll say this. He has, the Kelseys have a podcast, New Heights. The episode drops. The Taylor Swift episode drops today. So he previewed it. They said the most anticipated episode ever. So if you want the salacious details straight from the source, there may be some there.
See, there you go. I love that, Matt. You're like, you know what? I have no friggin' clue. However, if you want a clue, might find it there. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at Matt gosh darn Connor, baby. You can follow him on Twitter or X or whatever the hell we're calling it, at Matt Connor, AA there. That's very nice. We just got a YouTube super chat coming in, so we'll take a quick detour on this. Thank you, JR Jet, for sending this question in. I have a hard time believing they will get rid of Zach if Aaron Rodgers comes back, which, by the way, is something he said on multiple occasions he plans on doing. Of course, he'll fight to keep around. What say you, Boy Green? And I expand this question out to Hackett, to Robert Saleh, to Joe Douglas. All of those people are what sold Aaron Rodgers here in the first place. If you remove any of those pieces, Zach Wilson may be on the bottom of that pile, because if he continues to show he's not the guy, despite Aaron Rodgers fighting for him, I doubt that's going to continue. But especially the other guys, too, are all connected. If this season goes down the tubes, if the Jets move on from any of those guys, does that make Aaron Rodgers go, that's not what I initially signed up for, and all hell breaks loose? So that's kind of where I'm floating. What do you think from your outside perspective, Matt, on this situation?
What's interesting to me is having to work with and worry about a guy like Aaron Rodgers in the first place, who brings so much more than just a straightforward pay me and play kind of situation where you have to walk on eggshells. I mean, the difference between, like, let's say Mahomes, who has been just such a team player, taking less money on the first 4 years of what's going to be a reevaluated deal every 4 years. I'm not used to that. And so when you're talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, I forget that. Look, money, power, influence always twists or contorts someone's personality to being something more amplified than what it is. And it seems like for certain people, that becomes an amplified personality about which you have to walk around eggshells and treat with kid gloves and things like that. And so when you're bringing these things up, I just think, gosh, I would hate to have a quarterback where I have to worry about what he thinks of the roster moves we healthily need to make. At the same time, if your choices are Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, or Aaron Rodgers, even at the age of 40, coming off injury, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. So that is
hashtag analysis.
That's the nature of, you either have the guy or you do not.
Yeah.
And everything comes down to that in the NFL.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So let's continue to look ahead to Jets Chiefs. We only have a few more minutes left here on the show. I guess I'll be blunt. And this is kind of crazy. So I'm sure you know this. So heading into the season, so we find out the schedule back in May that Jets and Chiefs are playing. And when the Jets are doing their own show talking about the schedule, a team media produced show, they say, wow, week 4 is the first chance to ever see Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Of course, as long as everyone's healthy. Yeah. They say that back in May. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then, so this would have been, which is wild to think, because obviously Aaron Rodgers has been around forever, and Mahomes, quite frankly, the years are adding up. Whoa, This kid's been around for a while too. He came in the same draft class as Deshaun Watson. So, these kids have been around for a while and they play every once in a while. It's kind of crazy. It hasn't happened. And now, unfortunately, obviously it's not going to happen this year. So the only hope next year, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but the only hope next year I would imagine is some sort of playoff matchup if, once again, both are healthy. So how does it change for Chiefs fans? Because I remember talking to Cowboys people that said, oh man, Aaron Rodgers week 2. Oh, Zach Wilson. Like they were revved up for it back in the offseason, then not as much, obviously, when we actually get there. I was there for that game. And then now we have this where I'm sure Chiefs fans and people, ooh, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, sexy. Sunday Night Football. Oh, Zach Wilson. Is that the same reaction?
Yeah, for sure. It being a primetime game, everyone wants to watch a good matchup. I will say this, in week 1, the offense really sputtered. At this point, the Chiefs have been kind of peeling away an onion of pass catchers that Patrick Mahomes is used to. So Byron Pringle gone, Demarcus Robinson gone, McCole Hardman, as you know, gone. We trade Tyreek Hill. And then when Travis Kelce started the season with the injury, the hyperextended knee, it was turned into a bone bruise. They came out in week 1 with all these new guys, Kadarius Toney in the trade, and then a couple Sky Moore, and then they drafted Rashee Rice this year. It's like this really young room with really young guys with zero rapport with Patrick Mahomes other than off-season throwing sessions. So in week 1, the Detroit Lions came into Arrowhead on banner night and snuck away with a 1-point win, largely because the Chiefs kept shooting themselves in the foot offensively. They looked horrible. Then in the next game against the Jags, the offense did just enough to win, but the defense still carried them, held the Jags to 9 points on the road. Last week was the get-right game. That's what everyone's been calling it. They rolled over the Bears, and you looked at the offense, and you're like, hey, there you are. You've been in preseason mode for the last 5 games total. So now it's like, oh, wait, did they get it right? Or now that we're facing a strong defense, everyone in Chiefs Kingdom is expecting a win. I mean, you're looking at Zach Wilson going, yeah, we got this. In fact, will it be as ugly as the Bears last week? But then you look at the defense and you're like, no, it's not going to be that. And in fact, this is going to be a good test. Did our eyes deceive us last week, or are we developing offensive rhythm, is Kelce looking better? Those kinds of things. And also, let's not forget, Sauce Gardner came out a few months ago, circled this game. He sat down with Kelce actually on the New Heights show. Sat down with Kelce. He's like, "This is the game I want. I'm going to take out Matt Nagy and this offense." So I think there's a little bit of bulletin board material, and I think there's also an offense that's like, "Are we good again?" I mean, of course you have Patrick Mahomes, but like being in the rhythm they want to be in. So I still think there's enough to get up for here. Of course, it's just not the matchup that we all wanted to see.
Yeah, I will say on the Kelce thing, it'll be interesting. Sauce's first game ever, the Jets played the Baltimore Ravens. I was also at that game. Very nice. And they shadowed, for a large portion of the game, Sauce on Mark Andrews, which was crazy. It was his first game ever. Go after Mark, and Mark got lost in the sauce, quite frankly. Sauce did some really good opportunities getting in on him. So I'm curious because they've only used that very situationally where they shadow him in a way with a player. More times than not, they play their sides. But with this Chiefs matchup, something they were also talking about during the offseason, ooh, could we see that potentially? Because he's the number 1 pass catcher on the Chiefs. So that'll be fascinating to see if they dare dabble in those waters, because I would imagine outside of that, it would be a major, well, probably, again, if Travis Kelce goes off against one of your gods, whoever you believe in, and Kelce would probably be slightly favored in that matchup as well. So it probably doesn't matter, I guess, whether it's linebacker, safety, or God knows what. But Sauce probably would give you your best whack at the proverbial pinata if that were indeed to happen. Now, Matt, I want to tell you this, okay? Because there's 2 ways to evaluate what I'm about to say. Okay. On one hand, the Jets have only scored 3 touchdowns so far this season offensively. And some people may say, wow, that's underwhelming. However, I just had a light bulb go off in my head. Perhaps the Jets have been saving all their touchdowns for this Chiefs game. So, they were opting for a quality over quantity approach for the first 3 weeks of the season. Then week 4, okay, now we're going to flip the narrative. Now we're just going to get quantity, multiple touchdowns. Thoughts?
Man, can you imagine if Zach Wilson rose up and led an upset?
Oh my!
At home. I mean, what's the narrative after that?
And the cachet he builds from beating the Super Bowl champs, that's
right?
a pelt on the wall he can point to forever. Yeah,
Forever. Forever.
Ooh.
Hey, look, the thing is, the Chiefs always lay an egg every year. Last year, they went to the Indianapolis Colts and just rolled over, said, rub my belly, I'm not even playing. And everyone was like, what? Not even mad. We just have these games where you just like
confusing.
It happens every single year. We lay a total egg and everyone is less mad, more confused, looking around like, what in the world what just happened? I thought we had Mahomes. I thought we had, and it's just even hard to figure out what to say about the game other than burn the tape and move on. And then they do. The next game, they look like the Chiefs again, and they host the AFC Championship. They're already in the lead for their 8th straight AFC West title. It's silly to sustain success, but every year early they lay an egg. Now you could say they already did that against the Detroit Lions. I mean,
I would push back on that though. That week, so as you were talking about that, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't even call that week 1 the laying the egg. Like, man, they just did everything in their power to lose. Which I guess if you want to category, like Kadarius Toney drops and this and that, and the Kadarius Toney bloop, pick 6, like all the unusual circumstances. But from an outside perspective, I wouldn't even call that the Chiefs goose egg, that where everyone's like, oh, what happened there? Like, we all know what happened there. So that one, I don't think I'd put in that Colts-ish category. I remember the Colts game last year. I'm like, what in the flying hoot? What the hell's going on here? I guess it's the NFL, which makes it interesting, but I'm not sure if I would. Would you categorize that in that for week 1?
Could be. I mean, week 1 was definitely the shoot yourselves in the foot game. It was like it was penalties and weird calls, and when you're watching the tape, wide receivers are running into each other or almost, and then the timing's off, and then Mahomes misses them because they're half second behind where they should be. It was just a comedy of errors. So in that way, I hope that's the egg game. Yes. If not, there's one to come. So if you have a hope or a prayer, it's that the Chiefs turn chicken, lay the egg, Zach Wilson hoist the dub, and you've got some interesting talking points after Zach's first win of the season.
Wow, look at that. I have that on my bingo card. Zach Wilson out-dueling Patrick Mahomes Sunday Football. Yeah, boom! You heard it here.
Wait, I did not.
It on.
Yeah.
That's exactly what should be on the bulletin board. Or should be on the poster, rather, what Matt just said. So, okay, Matt, let's end with this. I am somewhat afraid to ask, but I love asking all of our guests at the end of each of these episodes as we run these every day. And then throughout the week, you kind of get gauging opinions because we got, let me pull up the schedule here. So we got Chiefs, Jets. So we've got our 2 Chiefs people back to back. It is you today. We got Devin Clements tomorrow. So we got back to back Chiefs people, and then we'll have Jets people the rest of the week. So I'm curious, what is your prediction for this game? Score prediction: Jets, Chiefs, Sunday Night Football, baby. Booyah! What are we going to see?
Sure. I would say Chiefs 24, Jets 6 would be my guess. Oof. I think there'll be a little bit of offensive movement, maybe a turnover created, short field, get your field goals in. The Chiefs defense is playing lockdown football right now. They have more starters than starting slots. Like, they are crazy deep, very young. In 2 years, you're going to look back and go, oh, there were several Pro Bowlers here. We just didn't know it yet. So, Trent McDuffie, Karlaftis is looking great. Chris Jones somehow sat on his couch, came back and was game ready. Who knew? They're very, very ready to play, and desperate to prove that it's not just the offense carrying this team. So I just don't see any offensive output on this side. And even if the Jets defense is good, Mahomes is still going to get 20 something. So, yeah.
What's the game script there? Is it immediate Chiefs blowout and then, hey, cruise control rest of game? Or because of this defense, it's incremental. They keep finding ways to score no matter what that looks like, and the Jets can. And by virtue, that's just how this puppy ends.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit closer throughout, but I think in the second half you pull away. And I mean, how much stamina does the Jets defense have?
That's true. It's a fair question. It's an absolutely fair question because, again, that's what happened. I'll say outside of, the Jets had a blown play against New England that ended up going for a touchdown. But besides that, they were pretty there, although the Patriots weren't really trying things. So, you have to, who's the respect for the Jets defense or New England being, somewhat inept offensively. So interesting. But eventually, if Zach Wilson keeps going 3-and-out, this defense keeps trotting their ass back out there.
Yeah.
And then it's Patrick Mahomes who could do it whether you're whoop or blow. So it should be interesting nonetheless. But Matt, I can absolutely say this. I can't say this for every guest, but it was an absolute pleasure getting to see your face this morning. What a caffeinated start to my day. I really appreciate it. And we appreciate all the good work. So all our Jet fans should check out Arrowhead Addict to get themselves ready for the game. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to peek at the opponent, see their media. What's Patrick Mahomes talking about? What's Andy Reid talking about? What are the writers talking about? What are people churning out for interesting content? I love hearing it from the other side. So I know a lot of our Jets viewers and listeners right now, whether listening live or after the fact, will be checking it all out on Arrowhead Addict. So thanks, man.
Thanks so much, Paul. Have a good day, man.
There he is. Again, Matt Connor of Arrowhead Addict. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30. Take care.